Hi everyone, hello. Today, with another episode, we have a Chris from ATHLYZER, the software company who aims at youth sports and grassroots sports in Germany. So, Chris, just introduce yourself, tell us about yourself.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks at first for your kind invitation. Glad to be here. Well, I first introduce myself. Well, Chris, full name Christoph. I have a PhD in exercise physiology, exercise science, and on that basis, together with some partners, we founded ATHLYZER in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
What does ATHLYZER do? We provide a video analysis software which is aimed for coaches in youth sports and grassroots sports mainly, which means that coaches can use our toolbox to dissect their match, their competition, their game, to actually find the most relevant scenes and use then the video to educate their players, their athletes in how to perform better.
Awesome. So how did you find the gaps, or how did you understood that these coaches need this kind of a software?
Yeah, well, at the time when we founded ATHLYZER, I for myself had been a long-term field hockey player myself, where video analysis is already at that time has been like a general thing that coaches in the performance leagues would use. This was per se nothing new, but in my experience, also over the course of my career, in that I had started with a coach that really like used the camcorder to record the match, and then like some days later he would gather us around the TV where he still plugged like that camcorder with like this cable with the three colored pins, yeah, like onto the TV. And the TV, this was still like a deep one, yeah, like not a flat screen but like a classical TV. And I'm not that old, I just turned 40, yeah, so this is already in the 2000s. And then he sat in front of us with paper and pencil basically, yeah? And then he had written there certain time codes. And
Mm-hmm.
then he was basically like fast forwarding and so forth to find the sequences he actually wanted to show us. And when I finished my career in the Bundesliga hockey 8 years later, well, the system was kind of the same. It was just that now everything had turned digital, but the principle was the same. So, and this was the experience also my founding partners had made in different kinds of sports and different levels of play. And so we said, hey, actually, like with our background, can't we start a research project that may turn out to become a company? And that's exactly what we did.
Okay, yeah, awesome, interesting. So why have you decided to aim at grassroots and youth sports? Do you see any opportunities over there compared
Yeah.
to more professional ones?
Well, first of all, like in high professional sports, there is also already really, really great software in this field.
Mm.
Really has to say, I could name a bunch, especially then also for the combination of video and data. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
great. The issue with these types of software usually is that you take quite a long time to actually be able to handle the software. I mean, for a person that is not from sports and not in the video analysis sector, we could maybe compare this to Excel.
Mm-hmm.
You get the software, and well, of course, everybody can put in some numbers. Yeah, no problem. But
Mm-hmm.
already when you're starting to do certain, to put certain functions in, this already starts to become difficult
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people. And the complexity of those functions can, of course, be highly enlarged. And then you also can put out graphs and automatic reports and all these kinds of things. And that's the abilities of these softwares as well, which is absolutely overwhelming for the average coach.
Yeah.
And this is also not what these software packages are built for. These software packages are built for professional video analysts, which
Mm-hmm.
means that, I don't know, what's your favorite football?
Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah. Wow, great example. Yeah, so Liverpool, well, congratulations to the title, by the way. For example, there you had, well, actually, I know some people that worked there with Jurgen Klopp.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, like there was a whole team of analysis, and I bet this is now still the same. Yeah, like there's a whole team doing the analysis. Yeah, like from GPS data to recovery data to connecting this with the videos and selecting which video clips are for which players or for what group and which are being discussed with the whole team. And of course, there's always feedback loops with the other coaches and so forth. Great, fantastic. But that is not the reality for 99.9% of how sports happens. This is high performance professional sports. So, and now the funny thing comes. So we have a training method now with video analysis. Yeah, like let's regard this as a training method that still works at the absolute highest level of performance in sports. And is also regarded to make a difference there. Yeah, so like especially like even more than in soccer, in sports like American football, for example. Yeah, like really analyzing your opponent and analyzing your own game plan is very, very important for finding the win. So if we transfer this now and compare this to other training method, if you have a training method that still makes the difference between winning and losing at a level of play where basically like the difference between winning and losing is like 1, maybe 2% of performance, then that training method has an even bigger impact on a lower skill level. Because the increases you can have through the usage of that technique, that method, are a lot larger. Therefore, we decided, okay, well, here we need to build a tool where the normal coach, where the situation is, I don't have an analysis team, but I either analyze myself or nobody does it. They have to have the right toolbox to do exactly this in a time efficient way and still with the modern techniques. Yeah, so like pushing certain buttons, creating my individual data bank with the topics of interest for me, which will be very different depending on, well, of course, which sport I am in, but also which level of play I'm in, but also in terms of what my philosophy is, what my idea of match play is. Because also that evaluation, if a situation was solved right or not, should be already be displayed in, well, what we call a scheme, what you could also call a coding panel or something.
Yeah, so every coach is different. I mean, everyone looks, I will say, to the same general metrics, but at the same time, everyone coach wants to see some kind of a difference, right? And everyone wants to be unique and has a unique view of the game.
Sure. But with the metrics, this is already like one of those things. Yeah, like video analysis in the way that it actually should be used is not metric centric. Look, when we talk about Liverpool FC, then they analyze like a lot of data. I just assume, yeah, like most professional clubs do. So I assume this will be the same in Liverpool. Yeah, so I'm just taking them as an example. So they analyze a lot of data, and actually, then the data will tell them where to really take a look.
Yeah.
So the data points them to the video sequences they then just really have to look at. Well, in amateur sports or grassroots sports, up and coming athlete sports, we don't have that data. So it's still important, but it's still important to find those sequences. Nobody there cares about the metrics because, to be a little polemic, if I count the corners in a soccer match and I find out that my opponent had 10 and I only had 2, what does that tell me? Does that tell me my opponent was 5 times better than I was? Or I don't know. Like, what should that tell me? I just know 10, 2. Okay, nice, but this doesn't bring any merit with it. But what video analysis actually should do is that it produces a practical consequence for the training sessions. So I as a coach, I analyze, let's say, the build-up, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of my team, and so I collect all the build-up scenes from a match, and I
Mm-hmm.
see, hey, look, we have a problem to, well, get the ball upfield, really playing some nice. We're still in the soccer example, yeah. So we really have like a difficulty to enter the last third out of from our build-up. This is basically what I see, and then I would probably like show my team, hey, look, here in this situation, I would have preferred you to play this pass. I would have preferred you to run here because creating space there, and then we would do this. And then I would take this information and also design my training accordingly. So I have the exercises for the trainings that exactly fit to this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is my practical application for what I actually saw through the analysis. And then I do the analysis of my next match. And then I want to see, did we improve in the build up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's how video analysis works. And for that, I don't need to count metrics.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just not the point.
Yeah, true, 100%. Like, I had conversations with some of the coaches, and they got subscriptions to all of these big companies, data companies, and I've heard a small review from the coach. I will say feedback. He was saying, "Well, that's great that I have so much data, but what do I do with it, right? What I'm gonna improve on? What is the next practice should be focused on?" And it's exactly what you're saying right now, 100%.
Look, and I remember a couple of years ago, I think this was during like the pandemic years. There was in the news eventually a headline that Man City actually hired a physicist
Mm-hmm.
from one of the elite universities in the US
Mm-hmm.
so that they could handle their data better
Yeah. Yes.
around the matches. Which kind of like made me laugh, and I think this is impressive, and I also think this absolutely has its merits. Yeah, like don't take me wrong, but this also, from where I'm coming from, take field hockey for example. Yeah, like this is more or less not a professional sport. Like there's very few people who do this professionally. Not a lot of teams have like actual staff that is like full-time working for the clubs and so forth, and we're talking here like even coaches and assistant coaches, not an analysis team or so forth. Coming from this, that kind of seems absurd, like how big this gap is. And I also think this is kind of absurd under the regards that even if you have an athlete that reaches the absolute top, so plays for Liverpool, Man City, or my favorite club, Eintracht Frankfurt,
Okay.
eventually, they also benefit from having this already regularly incorporated within the years at the academy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember first time seeing myself play
Mm-hmm.
was super weird, and then also really having to learn that you perceived in certain situations and the outside view how different this can be, and that this has to be matched over time, yeah, to actually like increase your internal feedback. This is a process. This takes time. So also in this regard, if you want athletes on the top that really can, well, even find their own solutions and discuss how certain pressure situations, let's say, should be solved on the pitch just by themselves when looking at the video, well, then they have to also have been led to do so.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I completely agree. All right, let's get back a little bit to youth and grassroots sports.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, like, do you see challenges with recordings in grassroots and youth sports? Like, are there enough, videos, and there is a challenge over there?
Yes, sure. Sure. There is a challenge. Actually, there is several challenges. Let's take probably actually the easiest one. So you need a proper video recording.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that actually mean? A proper video recording? Well, as with other things in life, it's rather easy to say what the optimum is, and then you have to break this down to what your possibilities are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on the sport, people would tell you certainly, okay, well, a relatively high position for the camera is good. And then, depending on the sport, they would either have prefer this from the sideline view or the behind the goal view. I'm certainly on the behind the goal. I favor that, but doesn't matter. So the difficulty eventually can be just to get into this position. Yeah, this is certainly one of the difficulties. Another difficulty can, of course, be to have somebody actually, well, do the recording, because depending on which setup you then go for, you really need a person that
Mm-hmm.
at least builds this up and builds this down, but maybe even like operates it during the matches. This can be a difficulty. Of course, for all these difficulties there is also solutions, yeah, like either with more manpower or also if you're willing to invest in certain equipment.
Yeah.
But this is always highly individual, depending on how the setup at your pitch is.
Is is it stopping you, like a company, a software company, from growth because you might have a much bigger market, but a lot of youth and grassroots sports have challenges with recordings?
It's an interesting question. Yeah, that depends. Like, this is very different from sport to sport, I would say. Look, I mean, if you take ice hockey, for example, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're playing ice hockey, at least like in Western Europe, yeah, I mean, then this means that you have like an ice hockey ring. They always have like something stadium like. There
Yeah.
you can actually like basically just on the side put like a camera holding system and just put your I don't know, your iPhone in there. You don't even need to move this because you're
Yeah.
so high that you're going to get the whole rink anyway.
Yeah.
This is artificial lighting. This is dry because there is a roof on top. Very, very easy setup. So everybody there that tells me, well, it's hard to get a good video recording. I mean, there might be setups where this is more difficult, but in general, this is actually rather easy there. If you go into soccer, and you take like well, like the soccer pitch slightly outside a small village in the middle of nowhere, where there is, well, next to the pitch the cows and the sheep are and so forth, which is nice and romantic, and there can be great soccer can be played there.
Uh-huh.
This is absolutely flat, and the people that come and watch, they just stand around the pitch and there is nothing. Well, then getting this elevated position can really be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And of those, you will probably have a lot. Yeah, well, of course, if this was easier, then sure. But besides like this technical thing, there is another issue with the videotaping that we are often confronted with, and where a lot of clubs are not really prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And where we then help is the topic of data privacy and general privacy laws. Yeah, because so what is allowed to film, what are you actually like allowed to do with the video then, and so forth. Yeah, like this is also a topic, and rightfully so, I have to say.
Well, interesting. Tell me a little bit about this in data privacy, because I never thought about there is a challenge over there. Maybe it depends on the country, really, but yeah, for me, I don't really understand now what are the
Well,
privacy use sports like. Yeah.
Well, in the EU, this is very clear. Like, you can't just make video recordings of everyone and then use it just for whatever you want to use it with. Yeah, so like I have a right of my own picture, and yeah, like you in the US, this is called in the college athletics. There is a lot of talk about the NI.
L.
Yeah, name, image, likeliness, and the image. This is exactly what we're talking about here, and this is also, of course, protected and very harshly protected, actually, in the European Union. But
Mm-hmm.
And there, if you do like recordings on in a public setting, yeah, then I still own the rights to my image myself. So I need to be asked if you can further use this, depending on what kind of use case you have. So if this is for commercial purposes, for example, yeah, I certainly need to be asked. If this is for private purposes only, well, then it kind of like depends how the whole scene is. Like if a camera would now really just follow me around, then you can also not do this for your private purposes. But if I'm like on the videotape and there is 10 other people on the video, well, then this starts to become like a little more different, because then I'm obviously not in the focus and so forth. So this is difficult.
Interesting. So does it mean that while recording a use game in Germany, for example, you might have a challenges because the parents that are, around the pitch, around the field, and yeah.
Look, I mean, the first thing, the first thing there is it's like if you go to a professional soccer match in a stadium. It's not that you can just take your camera and film. Yeah, and make a video recording there. Yeah, and this is not because you're just not allowed to. They just won't let you in with your camera equipment to do so. Because there is exclusive rights for certain entities to make those recordings. So, and if you look at the base of this, then if you are running that event, then first the rights are with you, and then you hand the rights or sell the rights to somebody else. So if I go somewhere to do a video recording, I always have to ask first, like the club, the owner of the pitch, whoever runs the event and so forth, if this is okay that I videotape. Otherwise you can't, you can, but you shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, like this is so, and then this is at all basically like your license to videotape. And the second step then is that you actually also have to, like if you apply the laws really down to the point, then you would need to actually have people to agree to record them by signing something. Yeah, it's basically like the cookie policy thing on the internet. Pretty much like the same thing. Yeah, everybody would need to do this, and if we're talking about children or youth players, then it's actually like at least in Germany it's like this. If they're under 14, you need the consent of the parents. If they're between 14 and 18, you need the consent of the kids and the parents. That would be like if you would really look at this like down to the core. What usually is being done, and which I also think is reasonable in every which regard, is if you say, if this is my pitch, like there is signs that here things are being recorded and are being used in certain ways, and if you don't want this, you have to say something. Yeah, like this is basically what in a lot of places is done. If I'm involved in the coaching myself, I always go also to the other coach and say, hey, I'm doing this. Yeah, I just want to let you know, is this okay for you and also okay for your team? Yeah.
Yeah. Going back a little bit to your company, right? We talked about it. So what plans do you have, and what do you see in the future in youth market in Germany that's really interested, and how you could be involved?
Well, look, for us, we started really focusing on creating a toolbox with which the coaches could easily select the video sequences of relevance for them. And over the years, we have further developed the whole system. I would say within the system, we use video in general as a form of getting expertise from place A to place B. Yeah, so a lot of people have heard of the saying that a picture says more than 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So building on this idea, you can say, so like if you have a video sequence of 10 seconds and with a frame rate of, let's say, 25, just because it's easy math, then a video sequence says more than 250,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
And we really want coaches to use this for the development of their athletes they are working on, because like even if you're not a professional athlete, there is still like a lot of people out there that really put a lot of effort, a lot of work in their performance, and therefore efficiency is very important. I think we can really help with the video side of that efficiency. And if we're talking kids and youth sport, it's the same thing. Like, I mean, you see children checking and read about this, yeah, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, yeah, Snapchat, being on their phones all the time. If we the sports side, if we can manage to actually get, let's say, 5 or even 10 minutes of this per day, let's say, yeah, it's already a high goal, back to them actually like then looking at things that helps them
Mm-hmm.
to improve what they are doing. And this doesn't necessarily need to be sports, and it also doesn't need to be high performance.
Yeah.
But if we can achieve that, I think, well, they will really get better in whatever that is.
Yeah, that's a great, a great mission to have, right? And it's really, how to say it. It's really good that you have not only a business idea but backup mission and thought. All right. So let me ask you, because we want to keep it like up to 25, but we already 32. Let me ask you a couple bits questions at the end. What is your favorite sport?
Field hockey.
Field hockey. Okay, not soccer, not football.
No.
Okay, who is your favorite player then? I have no.
In my favorite field hockey player, that is really a difficult question, and one I have never really thought about. I think probably overall not active anymore, but would be Moritz Fürste, one of the greatest hockey players of all time. Now on the verge of being one of the greatest businessmen of all time by being one of the founders of High Rocks.
I could imagine everyone listening to us goes to Google right now and because it's not street hockey. I'm sorry, it's called how you said, like field hockey, right?
Yeah.
Hockey, street hockey. Because I'm ice hockey player myself.
Yeah.
I'm kind of no street hockey, field hockey, and because the field hockey is not so popular. I think most of the people will look into the name, and it's interesting. I will too. So all right, the next thing. What is your favorite part of your job of your company?
Well, talking to people is my favorite part of it.
Okay, fair enough. What is the worst part of your job?
Accounting.
Okay. Math.
Sorry? Yeah, no. I really like math. Yeah, like that's not the problem. The problem is this is just boring. Yeah, like this is there is not for me there is nothing exciting about accounting. It needs to be done, it needs to be proper, no question, but this is something for me that just you have to have a certain discipline to do this, and I do it, but I don't enjoy it.
All right, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to enter sport tech business?
Find your passion. And then look if this passion actually has some match in terms of that you can also earn your living with this. I think the best example for this is probably to check out Moneyball.
Okay.
To see
Okay, yeah, awesome. So right, Dr. Christoph Mickel, right? Thank you for your interesting talk. Thank you for showing us, the challenges in youth market and in Germany especially. Thank you for introducing your company, and it was great to speak with you.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show. And I just wanted to say for everybody who needs or wants to have like further information, of course, on ATHLYZER or also in regards of sports in Germany and so forth, please feel free to reach out. No problem. You'll find me on LinkedIn where we also made contact, for example. It might take a couple of days till I answer, but I will.
Awesome. Thank you, Christoph.
Perfect. Thank you.